What's up? My name is Sydney, and this is Sydney Sweet Finish. I am testing out a coffee and just shooting the shit with you all, as usual. And I'm super excited and I'm super happy to be on the screen and chit-chatting with you. Today is July 4th. Some people recognize this as Independence Day. It doesn't hit the same because I'm a black person and I'm an American black person. I'm a descendant of the enslaved. I think that our country is made up of three kind of groups: the indigenous, the abducted, so my people, and then the immigrants. And that's just like three big tiers. And so, yeah, this day is just a day, but it's a beautiful day to be alive, and I'm super excited to be on the camera with you and testing out some hopefully delicious coffee. So this is kind of like a series. As you know, I'm like fun coffee employed, coffee fun employed, so to speak, up to a variety of caffeinated shenanigans, as the cool kids say. I'm the cool cook that says that. But so I'm not in a specific shop just yet. And, well, anyways, we'll go into that later. But I'm not in a specific shop. And so a lot of times, even though I am I'm surrounded by a lot of super delicious coffee, sometimes when you go to the grocery store and get snacks and get some cold brew or some coffee, you know? And so I went to the grocery store. I picked a couple of things from the cool shelf or whatever. I should know how to do that because I used to work at grocery stores. But yeah, I picked a couple of options from the case, and we're gonna review each one and talk about different stuff. And so today we're drinking out of our orange cup in support of indigenous communities in the Americas, but around the world, but specifically in the Americas. Unfortunately, I hope you have been keeping up to date, but I believe they're referred to as residential schools in Canada, they have found 1,500 children that were dead and buried and counting. And this is just, I think they've only opened up 3. And so it just the audacity of like, us as a country to sit here and be like independence, freedom, liberty, and all that other shit. Wow, like all of that was bought in blood, and of those that have been remained, so those whose land were stolen and those who were stolen from their land, we are just systematically denied from the things that a lot of people are really excited about during this time. And so it's hurtful how this country and other countries have treated indigenous folks during COVID and vaccine, handouts and stuff like that, and PP loans, and there's places where there's not running water, and you know the heat's off, and the land, like it's a whole bunch of like very icky shit that doesn't happen, or you're not aware that it's happening because it's not your day to day. And we all are like chronically underemployed and terribly caffeinated. Hello, son. But we're all chronically underemployed and undercompensated, overworked, and so we're just trying to focus on like just making it by, and all these atrocities are happening to us and around us, and we don't even know that it's happening most of the time. And so if you are in this moment of celebration for today, I'm not going to like yuck your yum, but I will say that you must be one of the lucky ones. So, and in the spirit of educating ourselves and trying to be more empathetic human beings, one of the things that I saw on TikTok and I saw in different places was this website, and it's native-land, I believe, but I'll probably put it on the screen somewhere. But native-land.ca, and it's where you can type in your address and see whose land it was stolen from originally. And so I did that, and I have some notes. I'm gonna bring out my phone and be kind of rude. But I did that, and I checked out the 3 major nations that we, because I live in Durham, so the 3 major nations that were inhabiting here before the colonizer nonsense. So before we get into those details, and I find my little app, I'm using Notion. I don't know if y'all have used that before, but let's try this coffee. So the coffee that I have used, hold on, baby. All right, there we go. Don't do that. Oh, okay, we're good. Okay, so the coffee that I've used is actually local, woman-owned. They're pretty dope. They're always open to support the community, and they introduced me to Cascara, which is the coffee cherry tea, and it's super dope. So they have this brand, but this is a nitro flash brew from Slingshot, and the origin is Colombia coffee, and it's so pretty. Okay, my hands were a little, okay, yeah, that's classy, sorry mom. Did the beauty gurus do this? Okay. So we're here, and I'm going to ooh, I like that. Okay, so smells like coffee. This is nitro. We're gonna test it. It's got that nice little bubbles. I think you call it a head. I don't know. I don't really drink beer. Ooh, it got foamy. It wasn't foamy, and then it got foamy. I wish y'all could have seen this. Cheers. Yeah, so it's good. So I picked this one to talk about it today because I think that it's a good, there's some common themes here. So I love cold brew. I drink cold brew. I make cold brew, or my mom makes cold brew. Hey mom. Ooh, my mom loves their Cascara tea. She loves it. I need to get her some. Anyways, so I drink cold brew, and cold brew has more caffeine. It's a little bit lower maintenance. Like you kind of like hot bloom. Coarse grind, hot bloom, cold water, set it and forget it, you know? And then you just drain. And you can get a whole bunch of stuff. It's a concentrate. You can put it in everything. I like to put it in my pops or sodas. I like to, put it with some oat milk and a little sweetener. You can do a lot with cold brew, right? A lot can get done. The caffeine is perfect. But if we're honest with ourselves, flash brew tastes better. Flash brew tastes better. And it's sometimes, a lot of times, it's a little bit more effort. You can do like the Japanese iced coffee, or, iced any pour over method. But because coffee is something like a lot of the flavonoids, is that what we're calling it? Flavonoids are heat reactive or heat soluble or whatever. Public education. But are heat soluble, heat reactive, you don't get as much complexities, and I am a slut for a fruity coffee. Give me the cherry, give me the blueberry. And so even though you can get that with the hot bloom with your cold brews, a flash brew tastes better. So I like both, right? I can acknowledge, even though I am functioning with cold brew, I had cold brew this morning, I exist within the sphere and within the realm where cold brew is where it's at, I can admit that flash brew tastes better. So, what does that have to do with being an American on July 4th? Well, we're here. When you're alive, many times there's something that you can find to have gratitude for. We can admit that there is some beauty that has been experienced by some of us. And even in that, that's a strong state of privilege, and it's not indicative of the quality of country. More so, it's indicative of the quality of the human spirit and its ability to find joy and find beauty in even the ugliest situations, i.e., hi, I'm a Black person. But at the end of the day, not having that on our collective karmic weight, not having to have those things be bought with the blood of people that we disdain even to this day, not having to find 1,500 children whose lives were cut short, and not having to deal with the reality of a lot of indigenous children weren't even allowed to be raised by their parents. You know what I'm saying? Because they wanted to get rid of the quote-unquote Indian and just keep the man, leave a shell of a human that's functional and malleable and controllable and grateful, you know? And so I think that a lot of us are conditioned to be grateful for terrible conditions, and it's absolutely absurd and unfortunate that that is a part of our country. There has been more years where more people have not experienced the so-called freedom and liberty and justice for all. Like, all didn't mean all. It meant all, a specific group. And so, yeah, you can acknowledge that you were born here, and so you function in this country, and you're gonna do your best with it, and you can spice it up and you can find beauty with it. But at the end of the day, like, none of us require death and destruction for our survival and for us to thrive. And if you do, you are a parasite. And so you can apply that where it applies. But yeah, so we can acknowledge and we can be in this space and we can function as Americans. I personally am, I identify as Black. If you ask me, I'll put African American, but I'm Black, and I was born here. You know, it is what it is. I have allegiance to myself and my people, and so my people is not, like, that's not exclusively my ethnic group. I do, but my people, you are my people. If you're watching this, you're my people. It's relationship, it's trust, it's built, but it is inclusive of my ethnic group. But that's where my allegiance lives and dies. So again, you can apply that where you apply that as well. So the three lands, the three major indigenous nations that we stole this shit from, and I'm saying we very loosely. Again, I'm a part of the abducted community, and so I don't take karmic ownership of this shit. Okay, I didn't ask to be here, so cheers on that. But it's called, so the three groups that were stolen from are Tuscarora, Shakori, and the Lumbee. And so the Tuscarora, hold on 1 second. Come on now. Okay, so the Tuscarora, also known as head gatherers, I'm going to read something because I took it from their website, are Native American people of the Iroquoian language. Before the arrival of Europeans in North America, the Tuscarora had migrated south and settled in the region now known as Eastern Carolina. This most numerous and powerful indigenous nation in North Carolina lived among the Roanoke, Neuse, Tar, Pamlico, and Cape Fear rivers in North Carolina. Early Europeans noted the Tuscarora in North Carolina had 3 tribes. So I'm about to butcher this, but again, their names are valuable and their names are valid. So Ka Tanuaka, people of submerged pine tree, aqua nintaka, doubtful, and the Skarruin, hemp gatherers, also known as Tuscarora. Their ancestors came under the 1713 through 1715 Treaty of Peace and remain in North Carolina to the present day. I'm also going to include a link to help food insecurity because it's in I think the main place to engage with that culture and to visit that nation is in Robeson County. Many of these, not all of the ones that I'm talking about today, but these indigenous countries are sovereign nations within this nation. So they have treaties with America, the United States, but at not one time, just much like when it started and they were talking about liberty and freedom and all that other good shit, they didn't honor the treaties. It's a history of just like consistently breaching contracts, consistently removing another man's boundaries, and somehow coasting by and avoiding the inevitable curse that's happening. So yeah, it's really ugly, and there's a lot of resilience. The Tuscarora were kind of powerhouses in this area, and so not only do you deal with, when you research it, you have the conflict between the people who came and decided that they were entitled to everything, and they not only had to deal with people encroaching their territory, but also filth, the ick. The immigrants, the pilgrims, brought ick with them and severely cut the population down with filthiness and things like malaria and yellow fever and stuff like that. And then you had the ick, and then they brought like violent entitlement. And so they would have the audacity to demand a contract be built on people's land and then breach them and use their guns and just like propensity for violence to breach those contracts. So it's not all positive, but there is a lot of beauty and resilience, and so we are honoring that resilience today of the Tuscarora people. So I appreciate that example in history, and every single person alive was valuable. And it is unfortunate that so many of us have to live in a world that is a result of, and can only really existed at the hands of the devaluing of human beings, individuals who had dreams, had goals, had loves, had fears. Some were good, some were bad. Like, they were people, and they were wronged. And so I want to honor that and honor them today. So, also enslavement. Yeah, also enslavement. So, yeah, they came over and started abducting people and making them work for free for them. So, but hallelujah. Okay, so let's talk about the Shakori tribe. Hold on, let me get to my notes. Okay, so I'm going to read this portion and then do what I do. So they were a smaller tribe that merged with the Eno Indians for protection against increased colonizer aggression and encroachment of their land. They sometimes had trade beef with the Tuscarora, which caused them to link up with the Eno as well. Around 1736, the Eno Indians which included the Shakoris, had other smaller tribes linked with the Sissepaw and other nations to form the powerful Catawba Nation. So, unlike the Tuscarora, this information is outside, and so of course, people walk near our porch, even though there's a dog park. Communal living. But anyways, so I'm a bitch. So that information has an asterisk because it was something that I found off the website of UNC, the same UNC that doesn't like professors to talk about critical race theory, which is fitting. And so take it with a grain of salt. It kind of I felt as if like it kind of was like put to the forefront the economic beef with the Tuscarora instead of like calling it for what it is. White nonsense came with some filth, came with some violence, and took over some shit. You know what I'm saying? So take that with a grain of salt. Yeah. And so that is the Shikori. They're also a part of, so like I said, like you can put in the city or your zip code and it'll show you like the three major tribes that would have been, the three major nations that would have been having a sense of sovereignty and engaging with the land that you are on. Okay, and so the last one is the Lumbee tribe. So the Lumbee, let me go to my notes, darling. Okay. So the Lumbee, after the colonizers brought their epidemics like smallpox, flu, malaria, propensity for theft, and violent sense of entitlement. These are words of mine. The Eastern Siouan, Algonquin, and Iroquoian indigenous folks migrated to various parts of the Carolinas and southern Virginia. And so they migrated and collaborated and formed an entity that is the Lumbee Indians or the Lumbee indigenous folks that are local. So this would be the tribe that I have the most engagement with, just because I think they're closer, and I remember going to a few of their events when I was in high school. So powwow, and then I think that we went to there's a space where it has like historical, like it's some really beautiful spots for you to educate yourself on the tribe. And this particular tribe has had a little bit of issue getting federally recognized because, again, the irony that you have to go ask the people that stole your land for recognition that this is in fact your land and you don't have to listen to their bullshit. The irony of that, but they were not able to, they're also in Robeson County, and they were not recognized as a sovereign nation, and they had to fight for partial recognition, because back in the day they would only allow them to go to the black schools or no schools. They could not go to the white schools, and so they were only allowed to go to the black schools, and they wanted to be recognized so they could have their own schools and not go to the black schools. And so they got the partial recognition there, and this is what is on the website. So I know that there's a lot of more complexities to that, but what is on the website, which I definitely will link below, is that is the main reason why they wanted federal recognition as a sovereign nation and tribe, because they wanted to have control over their education and not be forced to go to the black schools. So yeah, and it's interesting because they got that partial recognition, but it is not, it's not fully recognized, and I believe that I'm going to see if there are some, what do you call it, petitions that we can sign and ways that we can engage with our local government, because we want folks to be recognized, you know. And I also think that it's interesting. I think that they're the most, like, there's a lot of, you can learn a lot about their culture because a lot of it is on a YouTube channel. And so, like, you see that it's a very, like, diverse tribe, that different people, different background, shades, etc. And it's a beautiful thing, and their powwows are amazing. And all of these places around America, all of these reservations. So when I spent a couple of years in Mississippi, and so we lived next to the Choctaw Indian Reservation. And so I remember going to the Choctaw Indian Fair. It was the only fair that I had like a lot of fun with. I did not like the Neshoba County Fair. And fry bread, and, you know, going through the museum and learning and engaging with the culture, going to the stickball games. Oh God, I love that. And, you know, it was really cool, and there's so many distinct cultures that are within America, and distinct nations that are within America. And so as you are enjoying your July 4th, I think that it stands for us to educate ourselves on whose land we are on. It stands for us to educate ourselves on who would or would not be free on 1776. And before you just type, you type, and talk about that's in the past. Well, so is 1776. So what are we doing? Why are we talking about it if that's in the past? Exactly. And before, it's like, you know, you go and you're like, I don't know about history. Google, bitch. It's free. Because if you're online and you're engaging online, you have access to some type of free information, just like I did. And I think that we have to take ownership of our education, of re-educating ourselves. And so if you are a coffee company, and I'm sure you all, I've tried to stay off of Instagram to date and on like national holidays, because I just don't need the bullshit, because it pisses me the fuck off, honestly. Like, these were individuals, each and every person, and like, we don't get to just like throw it away because you feel good about it. Like, they're not more important than your less important than your barbecue and like your flag. And like, what are you talking about? Like, we have the highest percent of, inhabitants per capita that are stuck in prison. The majority of them are for non-violent fucking drug crimes. And like, the audacity of a country that is birthed in such blood and violence to sit here and celebrate freedom and liberty for all, when almost every step of the way, like, they have been punishing indigenous people and abducted people for not being okay with being stolen from, forced to work for free. And it's just like really messed up, and I really don't care if like that offends you. Kind of like, I just don't see how your feelings are more important than the facts. And there are things that are facts. They exist. Like, you can't just be like, well, it doesn't fit with my opinion, so no. Because, you know, like, I love going to the I love going to all these things, and you forget, or you're not educated on the fact that this is someone's native land. Like, they're named after people or tribes or entity and nations that existed and were flourishing and thriving. And